Let us take a dive into some history, specifically into the Roman age. Our main focus today is going to be a young man who is a fictional character, so we'll call him Theo. Here's a little background knowledge about Theo. We happen to go way back. Theo is a poor young man who lives near the center of the Roman Empire. He lives day by day, struggling to meet his daily needs, such as food and water. Let us begin with an early morning for our friend. The sun is sneaking through the clouds and shining bright upon the land. Theo awakens and gets ready to go out for work. Unfortunately, with how poor Theo is, money is hard to come by, and so is food. So breakfast is a deep breath and a cup of water. Theo is a servant. During the Roman era, it was common for the wealthier folk to have people working for them as servants and slaves. They had them do the cleaning, cooking, teaching children, doing makeup, and so much more. Theo handles the cleaning and any specific request from his masters. They are kind and gentle people who treat Theo fairly. Theo spends the day dusting furniture off, washing the floors, cleaning windows, and waiting as the time passes. It is now noon and also time for lunch. Theo's masters have invited him to join them in eating some fresh bread and water along with some cheese. Theo is extremely grateful for these acts of kindness, as he is often starving from not having any breakfast. They all enjoy a satisfying meal together and continue with their day. Now having food in his belly, Theo works efficiently and has enough energy to end the day. Reaching the end of his workday, Theo gives his farewell to his masters, and before he leaves, they hand him half a loaf of bread and some fruit to keep. Theo wholeheartedly thanks them and heads to his room with a humble smile on his face. Luckily for Theo, he was given a small room in his master's home where he can live at peace. Normally, most poor people in Rome live in these large buildings with multiple floors where families are crammed into and have almost no room to live comfortably. They are similar to apartments today, but are much smaller for the individual space. Now that it is late afternoon, Theo heads over to the local bathhouse to take a relaxing bath. While at the bathhouse, Theo happens to run into a good friend of his, Marcus. Marcus is a wealthy young man who owns a shop in Rome. Business has been very successful for him, and he couldn't be more grateful. Theo met Marcus while shopping one day when he walked by his shop. Marcus noticed that Theo was having to decide what would be a better purchase for his needs with the limited amount of currency he had. When he saw this, Marcus called out to Theo and offered him some supplies free of charge in exchange for his friendship. Ever since that day, they have both been very good friends and help each other out in any way possible. As Theo is finishing washing up and he grabs his stuff to leave, Marcus invites him to go eat dinner. Seeing as he doesn't have much food, he agrees. Dinner is a very important meal for the Roman people. They have large varieties of meals to choose from and spend time with close friends and relatives. Dinner is at times a social event, just like bathing at the bathhouse, where people can gather and talk to one another. Night finally arrives and Theo is beginning to feel tired, so he starts to head home. Once home, Theo lays down and closes his eyes. In his mind, he thinks about how grateful he is for the people in his life and for the many blessings he's been given. He gives a small prayer to end the day. Good night and amen.